It started with laughter. Not the warm kind that makes your chest loosen and cheeks lift. No, this laughter was sharp, more like a cough from someone choking on bitterness. It came from across the dinner table, where my wife's father had just delivered another jab at my expense. Something about my steady but unimpressive job at the hardware store and how real men took risks and built empires. My wife laughed too. Not loud, but just enough. Her mother covered her mouth like she was trying to be polite, but I could see the grin behind her fingers. I smiled. That's what I always did, smile like it didn't bother me, like I was just happy to be invited. I guess I'd convinced myself I didn't mind being the punchline. At least I was part of the story, right? I'm just a regular guy. Grew up in a small town, nothing fancy. I work hard, keep my head down, and try to do right by people. I married Olivia because she was everything I wasn't: loud, fiery, magnetic. When she walked into a room, people noticed. When I walked in, people barely made space. We'd been married for 3 years. Somewhere between our second Thanksgiving and our third anniversary, her parents decided I was a mistake. They didn't say it outright, but every dinner, every gathering, they found new ways to chip away at my pride. You know, Olivia used to date this guy with a boat, her mom once said during a barbecue. He used to take her to Catalina for weekends. Remember that, sweetie? Olivia smiled at the memory, then glanced at me and said, "Yeah, but at least you don't get seasick." It was supposed to be a compliment. I think. But it landed sideways, like most things she said lately. The flower thing came up during Sunday dinner. Her dad had grilled steaks. Her mom made some kind of fancy beet salad. I brought a 6-pack of beer and a smile, like always. Then out of nowhere, Olivia said, "You know what's weird? He never brings me flowers. Not even once. Isn't that strange, Mom?" Her mom made a noise that was half gasp, half judgment. "Never?" "Nope," Olivia said, swirling her wine like she was on a talk show. "Not for my birthday, not when I got promoted, not even when I had that surgery last year." "Wow," her dad said, chuckling. "I guess romance really is dead." They laughed. I tried to laugh too. But something in me twisted. I wanted to say, "You didn't tell them I brought you soup every night after your surgery? That I slept on the floor next to your hospital bed for 2 nights until the nurse made me go home?" But I didn't say anything. Later that night, when we were alone in the car, I asked, "Did that bother you? That I don't bring flowers?" She shrugged, looking out the window. "I mean, yeah, sometimes. It's just normal, you know. Women like flowers." I nodded. "Okay. I can do that." But it was already too late. Something had cracked. The next week, I came home early and saw her phone face up on the coffee table. A message popped up while I was taking off my shoes. "You gonna be at the park again tomorrow? Same bench?" I didn't want to look. But I did. The thread was long. Weeks long. Filled with little hearts and late-night jokes. And pictures. The kind you delete if you have any shame left. When she walked through the door a half hour later, I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just asked, "Who is he?" She froze. Then her face changed. Not guilt. Annoyance. "Why were you looking at my phone?" I couldn't believe it. "Are you serious right now?" She crossed her arms. "You don't get to act wounded when you've barely tried in this marriage." That was when it all made sense. The jokes. The flowers. The way she looked at me lately like I was wallpaper. She'd been pulling away for months, and I was too busy smiling through the insults to see it. "I'm sorry," I said. "For everything I didn't do." She blinked. "What?" "I'm not saying what you did was okay. But I should have listened sooner. I should have known something was wrong. She stared at me for a long time. Maybe she expected a fight. Maybe she wanted one. But I didn't give it to her. I forgave her. Not because she deserved it. Not because I'm a saint. But because I didn't want to be like her parents, bitter, cruel, always keeping score. I forgave her because someone had to be the grown-up in the room. But forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. And some things, once cracked, never fit quite the same again. After I forgave her, things didn't go back to normal. They didn't get better either, not really. We just sort of floated. Like leaves on a creek, drifting together out of habit more than love. I think we both pretended it never happened. She never said his name, and I never asked again. But the silence between us started to carry weight, like an extra person was living in our house, one we couldn't see but could feel in every room. I started bringing home flowers. Tulips at first, then roses. I even learned what a peony was. I left them in a vase on the kitchen table, just like she used to hint she wanted. She'd smile when she saw them, small, polite. The kind of smile you give to a neighbor who waves too much. One Sunday morning, I woke up to find her already dressed. She was brushing her hair in the mirror, humming a tune I didn't recognize. "You going somewhere?" I asked, sitting up in bed. "Just the park," she said, casually. "I need to clear my head." I stared at her back, wondering if it was that park. "You want me to come with you?" She paused, then forced a chuckle. "You hate walking." I didn't hate walking. I hated pretending we were okay in public. "Still," I said, "all right. Have fun." She left without kissing me goodbye. I sat there for a while, hands folded in my lap like some old man who didn't know where else to go. Eventually, I got up, made coffee, and stood in the kitchen looking at the flowers I'd left on the table the night before. They were already wilting. A week passed. Then another. Each time she went to the park, it burned a little deeper into me. And yet, I didn't stop her. I guess I was waiting, for her to choose me again, or maybe for the courage to leave. Neither came. Then came dinner at her parents' house again. This time, I braced myself. I knew they'd throw jabs. I knew Olivia wouldn't defend me. I even brought a bottle of wine, thinking maybe if I softened the evening a little, they'd go easy. "Look who finally brought something besides beer," her dad said the moment I walked in. "Wine, huh?" her mom added. "Trying to impress someone?" Olivia laughed, soft, almost embarrassed. "He's been trying more lately." Her tone was flat. As if it was some phase I was going through. "Trying?" her dad said. "Well, you better try harder. You got a real prize, son. Don't let her get bored again." They all laughed. I did not. I looked at Olivia. She didn't meet my eyes. She sipped her wine and looked at the tablecloth like it had something interesting to say. Something in me snapped. "I know about the guy," I said, calm but clear. "I've known for a while." The room went dead quiet. Her dad blinked. Her mom gasped. Olivia stiffened like someone had pulled a cord in her back. "I forgave her," I continued. "Because I still love her. But I don't think I can keep forgiving everyone else." Her dad looked like he'd been slapped. "What the hell's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm tired of being your entertainment," I said. "You all sit around laughing at me like I'm a punchline, like I'm lucky Olivia settled. But I've been here every day. I never left. Even when she did." Olivia stood. "That's enough." "No," I said, standing too. "It's not. You asked why I never brought flowers? Maybe it's because I was too busy trying to keep this whole thing from falling apart. Flowers are easy. Staying is hard. Her mom whispered, "This is very inappropriate." I looked at her. "You think it's inappropriate to defend myself? To finally say something after 3 years of swallowing everything?" Olivia's voice cracked. "Please, stop." But I couldn't. "Not yet. I'm not perfect," I said, voice shaking now. "But I'm not the joke in this room. Not anymore." I walked out after that. Left the wine. Left the flowers. Left Olivia standing in a room with her perfect parents and their perfect opinions. She came home late that night. I was on the couch, lights off, staring at the blank television screen. "I didn't know you were going to say all that," she said quietly. "I didn't know I was either," I admitted. She sat down across from me. Not next to me. Across, like we were in a courtroom. "You embarrassed me," she said. "You've been embarrassing me for years," I said. "You just did it with smiles." There was a long pause. Then she asked, "Do you still love me?" I nodded. "Yeah. But I don't know what that means anymore." She looked down at her hands. "I didn't sleep with him more than once. I swear." I closed my eyes. That didn't make it better. It just made it smaller. Like a cut instead of a stab, but it still hurt. "I don't want to keep bleeding for this," I said. And for the first time since it all happened, she cried. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a few quiet tears that slid down her cheeks and disappeared into the collar of her sweatshirt. Neither of us said anything else that night. But something changed after that. After that night, something between us shifted. Not healed, just shifted, like a building settling on unstable ground. It didn't fall apart, but you could hear the creaks in the beams if you stood still long enough. Olivia started waking up before me. She made coffee sometimes, which she never used to do. She'd leave it on the kitchen counter with a little sticky note that said something like, "Have a good day," or "Sorry about yesterday." The notes were short, always polite, like something a coworker would write, not a wife. I appreciated them. But they felt like band-aids on a cracked window. I still brought her flowers, even though it didn't feel the same anymore. Not because I wanted her to think I was romantic, but because I didn't know what else to do. I was trying to hold on, like a guy who stays in a burning house because he's not sure what life outside it looks like. Her parents didn't invite us over anymore, and honestly, I was fine with that. We had quiet dinners at home. We watched TV without talking much. She stopped going to the park, or if she did, she didn't tell me about it. I never asked. But every now and then, when I'd catch her staring out the window, I'd wonder if she missed him. If she missed what she had with that guy, the mystery, the freedom, the thrill of being with someone who didn't know about her flaws yet. One Thursday night, about a month after the dinner blow-up, she came into the living room while I was folding laundry. She was holding her phone, looking nervous. "There's something I want to show you," she said. I looked up from the basket of socks and shirts. "Okay." She sat next to me and held the phone out. It was a message. From him. The guy from the park. "I still think about you every day. Hope you're okay." I didn't say anything. She spoke before I could. I didn't respond. I haven't for weeks. But he keeps trying. "I wanted you to see it. Because I don't want secrets anymore." I stared at the message for a long time. Not reading the words, just looking at the shape of them. The way they sat on the screen like a threat I couldn't punch. "I appreciate you telling me," I said quietly. She let out a breath like she'd been holding it in for days. "I don't love him," she said. "I think I just loved the way he looked at me. Like I was someone exciting." I nodded. "I get that." Her eyes welled up, and this time, she didn't fight the tears. "Do you still look at me like that?" I thought about it. About how much had changed. About how much had been taken and how much had been given up. Sometimes, I admitted. But mostly I look at you like someone I'm trying not to lose. She looked away, biting her lip. Then she whispered, I miss being yours. That hit me harder than I expected. Because the truth was, I missed that too. I missed belonging to someone without needing to prove myself. I missed being loved for who I was instead of being judged for what I wasn't. I put the laundry basket on the floor and reached for her hand. It felt small, almost unfamiliar, like I was holding the hand of someone I used to know. I'm still here, I said. But I can't do this alone. If you want this to work, you've got to meet me in the middle. She nodded, eyes glistening. I'm trying. I know, I said. I see it. We sat there for a long time, just holding hands. No promises. No sweeping declarations. Just two people in a house that used to feel like a home, trying to patch it up with whatever pieces they had left. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like we were on the same side. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now. The thing about broken things is, even when you glue them back together, the cracks never disappear. They're still there, faint and jagged like ghost scars. And no matter how hard you squint or try to pretend otherwise, they're part of the story now. Olivia and I were trying. I won't lie and say it was beautiful. It wasn't. It was slow. Awkward. Some mornings felt like progress, and some nights felt like setbacks. She'd reach for my hand on the couch like it was a test. I'd squeeze it like it was a reply. We started talking more. Nothing heavy at first. Just small stuff, what she saw at the store, what I noticed at work, things about the neighbors. Safe talk. But safe was better than silent. One night she made dinner, chicken with some kind of creamy sauce and asparagus on the side. She didn't used to cook. It wasn't her thing. I usually handled it, or we just ordered in. So the fact she tried told me something. This is good, I said, mouth full. She laughed. Don't lie. I'm not. It's a little salty but, honestly, I'd eat it again. She beamed at that. And for a moment, we were just us. Not broken. Not ashamed. Just a couple trying to remember what us used to mean. But the cracks had a way of showing up when we least expected it. One Saturday, we went to her cousin's baby shower. It was at some big rented backyard with pink balloons and little finger sandwiches. I wasn't thrilled to be there, but Olivia asked me to come. I took that as a good sign. Everything was going fine until her mother showed up. The moment she saw us together, arm in arm, she gave Olivia that look. You know the one, half surprise, half judgment. Like she couldn't believe I still existed in her daughter's life. Well, her mom said, already sipping a mimosa, this is unexpected. Olivia's hand tensed in mine. Hi, Mom. Didn't think he'd still be hanging around after everything, her mom said, eyes flicking to me. Guess you do forgive anything these days. I tried to keep my cool. I really did. But Olivia, she surprised me. Actually, she said, voice steady, I made mistakes too. And he stayed. So maybe you could try not judging the one person who showed me grace. Her mother's lips parted like she was about to argue, but no words came out. And I just stared at Olivia. That was the first time she ever defended me in front of her parents. Ever. Later that evening, after we got home, I asked her about it. You didn't have to say that, I said. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, slipping off her shoes. Yes, I did. It meant a lot. She looked at me with this soft, tired smile. I know. I've been thinking a lot lately. About who I've been. What I let them turn me into. I sat beside her. You're not the only one who made mistakes, Liv. I shut down too. I stopped seeing you. I got too used to thinking I'd never be enough. You are, she said. You were always enough. I just didn't know how to recognize love when it came in quiet forms. We sat in silence after that, letting the words settle like dust in the late evening light. That night, we fell asleep tangled up for the first time in what felt like years. Her head on my chest. My arm draped over her side. I held her like she might slip away again. But in the days that followed, reality still crept in. Because forgiveness is one thing, but forgetting? That's something else entirely. There were moments when her phone buzzed and I'd catch myself wondering who it was. She'd text a friend and I'd glance over without meaning to. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I remembered what it felt like to be the fool in the room. And I didn't want to wear that face again. One night, after brushing her teeth, Olivia leaned against the bathroom doorframe and asked, "Do you think you'll ever trust me completely again?" I looked at her. Honest, open. Tired. "I don't know," I said. "But I want to." And that was the truth. Because trust, once broken, isn't something you just patch up with kind words and take out dinners. It's something you build again, brick by slow, shaking brick. And we were building. Not perfectly. But together. You don't notice how loud doubt is until the house gets quiet. You sit in a room with someone you love, no one's talking, the TV's off, and all of a sudden, it's like you can hear every crack in the walls, every echo of the past still hanging in the air. That's what our evenings became. We weren't fighting. We weren't ignoring each other. We were just quiet. Some nights she'd curl up next to me on the couch, and we'd watch a movie with the lights low. Other nights, she'd go to bed early, and I'd stay up folding laundry or tinkering with stuff in the garage. I don't even know what I was fixing most of the time. I think I just needed something I could fix. Because us? We weren't something I could tighten with a wrench or glue back together. And every now and then, I'd wonder, was she still thinking about him? It wasn't constant. Just flashes. Like a splinter you thought you pulled out but somehow still felt deep under the skin. She never mentioned him again. Not after showing me that message. And to her credit, she'd been patient with me, answering every question I asked, showing me her phone if I ever needed that reassurance, which I hated myself for wanting. But I could tell it wore her down too. One evening, while we were eating dinner, takeout this time, Chinese from that place down the street, I brought it up without meaning to. "Do you ever think about him?" I asked. She stopped mid-bite. Set her fork down slowly. "I don't," she said. "Not like you think." I nodded. "Sorry. I didn't mean to." "It's okay," she interrupted. "It's a fair question." She reached across the table and took my hand, her fingers cool against mine. "I think about the version of me who wanted him," she said softly. She was lonely. She didn't feel seen. She felt like a burden, not a partner. I swallowed hard. That was on me. I knew it. "I hate that I became someone who could cheat," she went on. "But I also hate that I felt like I had to become someone else just to feel loved." I didn't have a response to that. So I just squeezed her hand. Maybe that said enough. Later that night, we went for a walk. Just around the block. We didn't speak much. The sky was painted with that late spring blue, and the streetlights flickered like they hadn't fully decided to be awake yet. We passed the park. She hesitated. Just for a second. Then she said, "I met him right over there. Near the bench by the fountain." I didn't look at the bench. "I remember you used to come home so tired," she said. "You'd barely talk. Just eat, shower, and crash. I used to sit on that bench and wonder if anyone would ever look at me again like I mattered." I stopped walking. why didn't you just tell me that? I asked. She shrugged. I didn't know how. And I didn't want to add to your stress. You were already carrying so much. Well, I wish you had, I said. I would have tried harder. She looked at me then. I think we both would have. We stood there for a minute, the park stretching out in front of us like a shadow from our past. Then she took my hand, and we kept walking. Past the bench. Past the fountain. Past what happened. When we got home, I went into the bedroom and pulled something out of my drawer. A little box. Not new. Something I'd bought months ago and forgotten, before the affair, before the big blow-up dinner, before I realized love had to be more than just flowers and date nights and waiting things out. Inside the box was a bracelet. Simple, silver, with a small charm that looked like a tree branch. I'd picked it because of something Olivia once told me, how she loved trees in winter, how they looked dead but were really just resting, waiting to grow again. I handed it to her without saying much. She opened it slowly, then looked at me with wide, wet eyes. Why now? She asked. Because I think we're growing again, I said. She didn't say anything for a long while. Then she nodded, tears slipping down her cheek. I want to be better, she whispered. We both do. That night, we slept with the window open. The breeze rustled the curtains, and the sound of the world outside reminded me that seasons change, even when you don't notice. Even broken trees bloom again if you give them enough time. And maybe, just maybe, we would too. You can't rush healing. Not real healing. You can tape over cracks and paint over water stains, sure, but real healing, the kind that takes hold in your bones, that comes slow. Like grass creeping up through a sidewalk. Like trust, inching its way back after being set on fire. By the time summer rolled around, Olivia and I had fallen into a new rhythm. Not perfect. But real. Mornings got easier. We didn't wake up with our backs to each other anymore. We started eating breakfast at the table instead of separately in silence. Sometimes we even joked, small ones, soft ones. Like a breeze after weeks of still air. One morning, I came into the kitchen to find her watering a little potted plant on the windowsill. I hadn't seen it before. What's that? I asked. She smiled, still in her robe. Lemon balm. Smells good. Helps with stress. You growin' herbs now? Just trying something new. That little green sprout, tucked in its clay pot, felt symbolic somehow. Like she needed something to care for. Something she could help grow. Maybe we both did. Later that day, I was back in the garage, tinkering with an old lawnmower that hadn't run in years. I didn't need it. Our yard's tiny. But the act of working on something, getting your hands dirty, problem solving in a way where there's always a right answer, that helped me more than I like to admit. And I started thinking maybe Olivia and I weren't the only ones who needed tending. We hadn't seen much of her family since the baby shower. Her mom kept her distance. Her dad, too. And honestly, I didn't miss them. But Olivia did. Even after everything, even after the jabs and the judgment and the way they talked about me like I was some stray dog she dragged home, she still wanted a connection. I could see it in her face every time a text came in from one of her cousins. That flash of hope. That little flicker that said maybe this time, they'll see me differently. One Saturday, she asked me if I'd come with her to a cookout at her uncle's place. They invited you too, she said carefully. I raised an eyebrow. They did? They asked about you. By name. I shrugged. Sure. I'll go. And I meant it. Not because I wanted to see them, but because I wanted her to see that I was willing. That Saturday was hot. The kind of heat that makes your shirt cling to your back and your drink sweat in your hand. Her uncle's backyard was packed with folding chairs, kids running around, and a big grill giving off thick clouds of charcoal smoke. I braced myself when we stepped through the gate. Her mom spotted us first. I saw her eyes flicker, then settle into that tight, polite smile she wore like armor. But to my surprise, her dad came up to me. "Hey," he said, nodding once. "Hey," I replied. He stuck out his hand. "Didn't think we'd see you here again." I shook it. "Didn't think I'd be invited." He let out a short chuckle. "Fair enough. No apology. But I wasn't expecting one. Sometimes, dignity shows up as silence." We didn't talk much after that, but Olivia seemed lighter with every passing hour. Laughing with her cousins, helping her aunt with the salads, chasing her little niece around the yard. And for the first time in a long time, I saw her shine without dimming me in the process. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky with streaks of orange and pink, we sat side by side on a porch swing. She leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "Thanks for coming." I kissed the top of her hair. "Thanks for asking." And then, out of nowhere, her mom walked up. Her arms were crossed, and her mouth was tight, like she'd been chewing on something bitter. "I heard about the bracelet," she said to Olivia. "That's new." Olivia nodded. "Yeah. He got it for me." There was a pause. Her mom looked at me, then back at her daughter. Something shifted behind her eyes. "I'm glad you two are working things out." It wasn't an apology. But it was the closest thing to one I'd ever gotten from her. Later that night, as we were driving home, Olivia reached for my hand in the car. "You know what I realized today?" she asked. "What?" "I spent years trying to prove to them that I picked the right man. But the truth is, I didn't need their approval. I just needed to start treating you like the man I always knew you were." I didn't say anything. Just kept driving, the hum of the tires beneath us the only sound. But my chest felt full. Not of pride. Not even of relief. Just something warmer. Something deeper. Respect. The kind you earn after walking through hell together and still choosing to hold hands on the other side. And just like that little lemon balm plant on the windowsill, something in us was growing again. Something with roots. It's funny how you can spend months fixing something, pouring time, effort, forgiveness, and prayer into it, and yet all it takes is a single comment to shake the whole thing again. We were doing good. Not perfect, but good. I was working more around the house, keeping myself busy but still making time for Olivia. She'd started reading again, going through old books she used to love, ones she hadn't touched in years. It felt like we were both rediscovering ourselves and trying to invite the other in, instead of locking them out. Then one afternoon, I was mowing the yard when our neighbor, Mrs. Donnelly, wandered over. She was one of those older ladies who didn't miss anything, sat on her porch like a human security camera, always ready to chat. She leaned on the fence, squinting against the sun. "Haven't seen your wife at the park lately," she said. I wiped sweat off my forehead with my sleeve. "Yeah, we've been doing more together at home." She smiled, but her eyes stayed sharp. "I always thought she was awful friendly with that young man she used to meet down there." I froze. I tried to keep my face neutral, but something in me clenched. "Yeah, well. That's over." She nodded slowly. "Good. You deserve better, hon, always been polite, always kept to yourself." Then she wandered back to her porch, as if she hadn't just ripped open a wound I was still trying to keep bandaged. I finished the yard, then went inside and showered. I didn't say anything to Olivia right away. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't trust what might come out of my mouth if I opened it too soon. At dinner, I brought it up. As gently as I could. "Ran into Mrs. Donnelly today." Olivia looked up from her plate. "Oh? She's still spying on everybody?" I half smiled. "Yeah. Said she hasn't seen you at the park lately. Olivia froze for a second. Just a flicker. But I caught it. Why would she bring that up? She asked carefully. Said she used to see you talking with him. Her jaw tightened. She wasn't wrong, she said, voice low. I nodded. I know. I'm not mad. But? I sighed, setting my fork down. I guess. I thought I was past it. But hearing it from someone else, it just hit different. She looked at me then. Not angry. Not defensive. Just tired. I get it, she said. I really do. I don't want to keep dragging it up, I told her. Sometimes it sneaks up on me. Olivia reached across the table and took my hand. I don't expect you to forget it. I just hope, over time, it hurts less. I think it does, I said. Most days. That night, we laid in bed quietly, facing each other in the dark. She reached up and ran her fingers through my hair the way she used to before everything fell apart. You ever think we won't make it? She whispered. Sometimes, I admitted. But I also think we've already made it further than most would. She nodded, eyes glassy. Do you trust me? She asked. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know. But because I wanted to say it truthfully. I trust that you're trying, I said finally. And I trust that you love me. She pressed her forehead to mine. That's enough, she whispered. We drifted off like that, two people not quite whole, not quite broken either. Just trying. The next morning, I found the lemon balm plant dead on the windowsill. Its leaves were dry, the soil cracked. I almost tossed it out. But instead, I took it outside, watered it, trimmed the dead parts back, and moved it into the sun. Because sometimes, you don't throw things away just because they're struggling. Sometimes, you give them another shot. The following week felt different, like there was something sitting in the air between us that neither of us wanted to name. Not a fight. Not resentment. Just the weight of truth unspoken. I knew she was trying. I was too. But some things don't go away cleanly. They leave residue, like smoke in your clothes long after the fire's out. Tuesday morning, Olivia left early to run errands. I stayed back to patch up a leak under the kitchen sink that had been slowly dripping for days. I figured, if I could keep fixing the little things around us, maybe it'd make it easier to believe the big things were fixable too. It was around 10 a.m. when the doorbell rang. I wiped my hands on an old towel and opened the door. A young man stood there. Tall, tan, dark hair swept back like he hadn't brushed it but still somehow looked good. He had this casual, smug air about him, like the kind of guy who never had to try too hard. The kind women noticed. The kind men didn't trust. He gave me a half smile. Hey, he said, Olivia home? I blinked. Who's asking? He shifted his weight, shoving his hands into his pockets. Name's Erin. I met her at the park a while back. There it was. The name. The man. I stood a little straighter, heart thumping somewhere between my ribs and throat. She's not here, I said evenly. He nodded like he already knew. Figured. Just thought I'd stop by and say goodbye. I'm moving out of town. Got a job up north. I kept my face neutral. All right. He glanced past me like he was trying to peek inside. Listen, I didn't mean to cause trouble. Things got blurry. But I didn't come here to stir anything up. You sure about that? I asked. He smirked a little, not in a mean way, just like someone used to getting away with a lot. I liked her, man. But I didn't know the full story. Not until later. I didn't respond. I just wanted to tell her she deserves better than how her family talks about her, he added. That's all. I narrowed my eyes. You don't know her family. I know enough. She cried to me, man. I listened. I clenched my jaw, trying to hold my ground. You listened. Then you slept with another man's wife. He didn't deny it. Just looked down at his feet, then back up at me. You forgave her, huh? I did. Then I guess you're a better man than me. And with that, he turned around and walked off like this was just another chapter in someone else's book. I closed the door slowly, locking it behind me. By the time Olivia came home, I was back under the sink, wrench in hand, but my head somewhere else entirely. She came into the kitchen and set some bags on the counter. Hey, babe, she said cheerfully. Got your favorite coffee creamer? I didn't respond right away. She caught it. What's wrong? I slid out from under the sink and sat back against the cabinet. Your friend from the park stopped by. Her smile fell like a curtain. Oh. Said he was leaving town. Just wanted to say goodbye. She stared at the floor. Did he say anything else? Said he listened to you. Said he thought you deserved better than how your family treats you. She exhaled slowly. That sounds like him. I nodded. I didn't punch him. That made her crack the faintest smile. Thank you. You still love him? Her eyes met mine quick. No. I liked how he made me feel when I felt invisible. That's all it was. Did you ever want to leave me for him? No, she said, instantly. I wanted to feel seen. He gave me that for a minute. But you, she stepped closer, you give me a lifetime. You just didn't know I needed to be looked at a little harder. I stood up, feeling tired but solid. Well, you got me looking now. She reached for my hand and held it tight. I'm sorry. I know. And we just stood there, hands wrapped together in the middle of the kitchen, surrounded by grocery bags and a leaky pipe and everything imperfect, but ours. It had been 3 weeks since Aaron showed up at the door. After that, Olivia and I stopped dancing around the past and started walking through it hand in hand. There were still rough days, moments when silence weighed heavier than words, but we were building something again. Real this time. One Sunday morning, I was sipping coffee on the porch when Olivia stepped outside, rubbing sleep from her eyes and wrapped in my old hoodie. My parents invited us for dinner, she said, voice tentative. I looked up at her. Really? She nodded. Mom wants to talk things through. Probably thinks you're still the villain. I thought I was the flowerless failure, I said with a half smile. She gave me a soft look. You're not. You never were. I took a deep breath and nodded. All right. Let's go. Their house hadn't changed. Same heavy oak door, same clunky furniture that always made you feel like you weren't allowed to sit down. Her dad answered the door like he was doing me a favor just by opening it. Well, look what the cat dragged in, he muttered, turning his back before I even stepped inside. Her mother was in the kitchen, fussing over a casserole. She looked up and gave me that tight smile she reserved for funerals and forced holidays. Olivia, sweetheart, she said, kissing her daughter's cheek. You look tired. Are you eating enough? I'm fine, Mom, Olivia said, her voice calm but steady. We're doing fine. Dinner was awkward at first. Her father dominated the conversation, bragging about some deal he made at work, and her mother made a few passive comments about how quiet I always was. But then Olivia did something that caught me off guard. She reached under the table and grabbed my hand. Actually, she said, we came because I wanted to say something. Everyone froze. Even the salad seemed to stop wilting for a moment. She cleared her throat. You've both been hard on him. Too hard. And I used to let it slide because I was frustrated with things in our marriage, and I didn't always defend him when I should have. But I need you both to know, he's a good man. He's been patient. He's been kind. And I made mistakes that nearly destroyed what we had." Her mom's fork clinked against her plate. "Olivia. No, Mom. Let me finish." She turned to her dad. "You always said I deserved a real man. Well, I've got one. He forgave me for something you'd never forgive. He stayed when it would have been easier to leave. So if you can't respect him, then you don't respect me either." They didn't say anything at first. Just sat there looking stunned, like she'd slapped them with her words. And maybe she had. I squeezed her hand under the table. She looked at me and smiled, one of those small, brave ones that made me fall in love with her all over again. We didn't stay long after that. Her mom tried to offer us dessert. Her dad mumbled something about respect being earned, not given. But we just thanked them for dinner and left. The drive home was quiet in a peaceful kind of way. "I've been meaning to ask," Olivia said, staring out the window, "why did you keep the lemon balm plant?" I smiled. "I don't know. Just seemed like it still had life left in it. I figured, maybe all it needed was someone to believe in it." She nodded. "Like us?" "Yeah. Like us." When we got home, I went out to the backyard where the lemon balm sat on the porch. It had sprouted new green leaves, tiny and determined. I plucked a few and brought them inside. The next morning, I got up early and drove to the little flower shop on Main Street. The one I used to pass but never stopped at. I picked out a bouquet, sunflowers, daisies, a few sprigs of lavender, and tucked in the middle, some fresh lemon balm from my own plant. When I got back home, I placed them on the kitchen table with a note. "For all the days I didn't give you flowers, and all the days still to come." She found them when she came downstairs, barefoot and sleepy, and stood there looking at them like they were made of gold. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like we'd finally arrived, not at some fairy tale ending, but at something better. Something real.